This is Sung, and I'm the Principal and Director of Sky Academy, and in the last episode what we looked at was the unit circle as a way of redefining sine, cos and tan, right? And let me just go through a quick recap. We define the unit circle, and we define any point on the unit circle as P, which has the coordinates x, y on the unit circle. And that gives us a horizontal displacement of x and a vertical displacement of y. And that gives us a right angle triangle within the unit circle with those dimensions, but it also has an angle of theta degrees. Does that make sense? And that is inside the first quadrant. And we looked at what the four main quadrants of the unit circle are. There's the first quadrant, which is between 0 and 90, the second quadrant, which is between 90 and 180, the third quadrant, which is between 180 and 270, and the fourth quadrant, which is between 270 and 360. Alright? And then we basically, from the right angle triangle that is made by point P, we were able to redefine sine, cos and tan theta as sine theta being y, cos theta being x, and tan theta being y on x. Yes? Now what we're going to be doing is looking at what happens in the second, third, and fourth quadrant. Okay? We'll be looking at that in a lot more detail in the next episode, but what I want to do in this episode is look at the sign, S-I-G-N, right, of the trig ratios in the second, third, and fourth quadrants. S-I-G-N, sign, whether the trig ratios are positive or negative. Now, in the unit circle, let's have a look here. In the second quadrant, you've got x being negative and y being positive. Does that make sense? Because x is below 0 going this way, but y is above 0 going this way. So in the second quadrant, your x coordinate will be negative and y coordinate would be positive. Therefore, if we look at what sine theta does, sine theta would follow the sine, S-I-G-N, of y, which is in this case positive. Cos theta would follow the sign, the S-I-G-N, the positivity and negativity of x, which in this case is negative. And tan theta would be sine over cos, positive over negative number gives you a negative number. Does that make sense? Yeah. The third quadrant, let's see what happens there. Sine theta, which equals to y, is going to be a negative. Cos theta, which is equal to x, is going to be a negative. Tan theta, which is going to be y on x, a negative number divided by another negative number, that's going to give you a positive number. Does that make sense? Alright. And in the fourth quadrant, what I want you to see is that x is positive, but y is negative. Okay? Whereas in the third quadrant, it was both negative for x and negative for y. Whereas in this case, it's positive, negative for y and x. Sorry, x is positive, y is negative. Which means sine theta, which is equal to y, is going to be negative. Cos theta, which is equal to x, is going to be positive. And tan theta, which is equal to y on x, is going to be negative. Now, for the first quadrant, they're all positive, right? X is positive, y is positive, because x is positive and y is positive. So for sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta of the first quadrant angles, they're all going to be positive. Does that make sense? So, I want you to kind of notice where all the positives are, alright, in each of the quadrants. In this case, sine is going to be positive. In the third quadrant, tan is going to be positive. In the fourth quadrant, cos is going to be positive. But in the first quadrant, all of them are positive. Which allows us to make a generalization, or to come up with or to see a basic pattern, which is that in the first quadrant, I'll rub this out because we probably don't need this anymore, everyone's got the hang of that. All of them are positive in the first quadrant, sine is positive in the second quadrant, tan is positive in the third quadrant, and cos is positive in the fourth quadrant. Okay? So, this basically is a pattern that you will need to recognize, and an easy way to remember this is ASTC, all stations to central, okay, is another way of remembering this. You just need to remember that A, S and TC are where are the trig ratios that are positive in those respective quadrants. Okay? That's all I want to do for this episode. In the next episode, we'll be not only just looking at the sign of the different ratios, but we'll also be looking at how to figure out the trig ratios from those angles. Okay, so thank you very much for watching.